Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israeli forces have shot and killed at least 62 people across the Gaza Strip since dawn today, including 19 people seeking food. The latest killings bring Gaza's official death toll since October 2023 to over 60,000, though that number is believed to be a vast undercount. Meanwhile, the world's leading hunger monitoring system warned the worst-case scenario of famine is playing out in the Gaza Strip, with widespread starvation, malnutrition, and disease driving a rise in hunger-related deaths. The Integrated Food Security Phase classification warns the only path to stopping further deaths and catastrophic human suffering is for Israel to allow for the unimpeded, large-scale flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. On Monday, Palestinians holding empty pots and pans gathered at a soup kitchen in Gaza City, hoping for a meal.
We are living in this apartment and I wish we were safe. We have mosquitoes from one side and fleas from the other side. My whole body has fleas. I can't get medicine for myself nor go get treatment. I go from soup kitchen to another to provide food for my children instead of getting treatment for myself. My small child, who is 3 years old, has pus in his leg. I can't go get him treatment because I have to provide food for him first.
The governments of Germany and Spain said Monday they'll airdrop humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip in cooperation with Jordan. But officials admitted the amount of aid they can provide pales in comparison to Gaza's starvation crisis. Meanwhile, President Trump has broken from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who declared Sunday, quote, "There is no starvation in Gaza." On Monday, Trump said he'd seen images of Palestinians on TV and that, quote, "those children look very hungry," unquote. Trump later described scenes of, quote, "real starvation." Israel's security cabinet's considering a proposal to annex parts of the Gaza Strip. That's according to the Israeli newspaper Haaretz, which reports Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's annexation bid is part of an effort to prevent the resignation of far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who in May declared, quote, "We are finally going to conquer the Gaza Strip. We are no longer afraid of the word occupation," unquote. At the United Nations, Saudi Arabia and France have opened a 3-day conference aimed at recognizing Palestinian statehood as part of an effort to end Israel's assault on Gaza. Already 147 of the UN's 193 member states recognize the state of Palestine, though not the United States nor its allies in the G7 group of powerful nations. Ahead of this week's conference, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee mocked France's planned September recognition of Palestine as, quote, "the new nation of Frankenstein." U.S. human rights defender Chris Smalls says he was physically assaulted in Israeli custody after he was abducted by Israeli forces who raided their Gaza-bound humanitarian aid vessel, the Handala, in international waters Saturday. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition says Smalls was choked and kicked in the legs with visible signs of violence on his neck and back, and that this level of force was not used on the other activists. Smalls was the only black crew member of the Handala, which was carrying baby formula, diapers, food, and medicine. Meanwhile, in Greece, protesters on the island of Rhodes scuffled with riot police as they were demonstrating against the war in Gaza, while an Israeli cruise ship was docked. This is one of the protesters.
The killings and the embargo that is happening in Gaza must stop. The people are starving. We demand a reaction from the rest of the world, and that Israel does not operate on the backs of NATO and the West with what it's doing right now. This is murder.
In the occupied West Bank, an Israeli settler shot and killed the Palestinian activist and teacher Odeh Mohamed Hadalin in a village near Hebron on Monday. He played a key role in the production of the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land, which follows Palestinians in the community of Masafer Yatta as they struggle to stay on their land amidst violent attacks by Israeli settlers. Residents identified Hadalin's killer as Yinon Levy, an Israeli settler who was put on a European Union sanctions list last year for his violent attacks on Palestinians and their property. The Trump administration earlier this year lifted the Biden-era U.S. sanctions on Levy. Video appears to show him brandishing and firing a handgun at Palestinians ahead of Monday's fatal attack. Palestinian journalist and No Other Land co-director Basil Adra mourned Hadaline's killing, writing, quote, "This is how Israel erases us, one life at a time," he said. In Ukraine, Russian strikes have hit a prison in Zaporizhzhia, killing 17 people and wounding 42. A hospital in the Dnipro region was also hit, killing 3 people, including a pregnant woman. The attacks come as President Trump moved up his deadline for Russia to agree to a ceasefire deal from 50 days to about 10 or 12 days. Here in New York, a gunman wielding a semi-automatic assault rifle walked into a Midtown Manhattan skyscraper Monday evening and opened fire, killing 4 people before fatally turning the gun on himself. Police identified the shooter as 27-year-old Shane Tamura of Las Vegas, who reportedly drove across the U.S. to carry out the attack.
The building security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire.
Tamura was a competitive football player who appeared to be targeting the National Football League's corporate offices. The league has confirmed one employee was critically injured. Tamura had a license to carry a concealed weapon in Nevada. He reportedly carried a suicide note stating grievances with the NFL and saying he suffered from the brain disease CTE, which is linked to head trauma. Meanwhile, in Reno, Nevada, a gunman killed 3 people at a casino resort Monday morning, leaving several others injured in a spray of gunfire before police officers shot him dead. Investigators are still searching for a motive. According to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been 254 mass shootings across the United States so far this year. A federal judge has ruled the Trump administration and Congress cannot block Planned Parenthood from receiving Medicaid payments. In its lawsuit, Planned Parenthood claimed it would have had to close nearly 200 clinics in 24 states without Medicaid funds, which would cut off care to over 1 million patients. Nearly half of Planned Parenthood's patients are on Medicaid. Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator and convicted sex trafficker, Ghislaine Maxwell, is appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. Maxwell is claiming she's ineligible to be prosecuted due to a 2007 plea deal struck between Epstein and then Florida prosecutor Alex Acosta, whom Trump later named as labor secretary, who was then had to resign because of the Epstein scandal. Meanwhile, President Trump is looking to force Wall Street Journal owner Rupert Murdoch to give a deposition within the next 2 weeks as part of Trump's defamation lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal. Trump's seeking $10 billion after denying the Journal's report that Trump signed a birthday card to Epstein with a sexually suggestive drawing of a woman. On Monday, Trump gave new details about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, telling reporters in Scotland he ended their friendship because Epstein, quote, stole workers away from me, unquote.
I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down.
Oklahoma's superintendent of public instruction is facing scrutiny for screening explicit images of nude women in his office television during a meeting of the Oklahoma Board of Education. Ryan Walters previously faced backlash for promoting Bibles endorsed by President Trump on Oklahoma public school students. A third whistleblower has stepped forward with evidence that federal judicial nominee Emil Bovy lied to senators during his confirmation hearing last month. Staff for Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley met Monday with lawyers for the whistleblower. This follows 2 prior whistleblower complaints alleging that while serving as a senior Justice Department official, Bovy ordered subordinates to ignore judicial orders that undermined Trump's agenda. Despite those complaints, North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis said Monday his yes vote remains unchanged, likely giving Bovy enough support for his confirmation. Bovy is Donald Trump's former personal criminal defense attorney, nominated to a lifetime appointment on the 3rd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. A panel of federal judges in Albany, New York, has declined to appoint President Trump's interim U.S. attorney for the Northern District of New York to a permanent position. Monday's announcement means the 120-day interim appointment of John Sarcone III will expire unless Trump nominates him again. During his brief tenure, Sarcone retaliated against the Albany Times-Union for reporting that he listed a boarded-up residence as his home address and accused an undocumented immigrant of trying to kill him, a claim refuted by surveillance video. Meanwhile, federal courts in New Jersey have halted criminal trials and grand jury proceedings amidst questions about Trump's appointment of his former personal attorney, Alina Habba, to serve as acting U.S. attorney. Habba had been serving as interim U.S. attorney until her appointment was due to expire last week when a panel of district judges selected veteran New Jersey prosecutor Desiree Grace to replace her. But Trump's Justice Department quickly fired Grace and named Habba as her replacement, setting off confusion about whether she's disqualified from holding the job. Trump has formally nominated only a quarter of the U.S. attorneys who serve in 85 federal districts. And the director, Christopher Nolan, is facing criticism for shooting his upcoming film, The Odyssey, in the Western Sahara city of Dakhla, which remains under occupation by Morocco. Local activists and the organizers of FI Sahara, the Western Saharan International Film Festival, warn the production normalizes Morocco's repression of the indigenous Sahrawi people who face torture and forced disappearances after holding nonviolent protests.